My name's Tom DeFalco. I'm a first year here at MIT Sloan. And our next competitive advantage speakers are Jeremy Troy and Chris Tank. They're here from the NFL's Analytics and Data Products Group, and their talk is called NFL Insights Delivering an Advanced Analytics Platform. If you guys have been in this room before, the way it works is the talk will run for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A, so we'll aim to end around 4:05. If you have questions, please try to make your way towards the center so that we can get the mic to you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris and Jeremy.
Back with you live here. We good? All right, let's try that again. Back with you live here in Los Angeles, talking mind-blowing stats. It's where we take a look at the numbers and statistical data available only to the 32 NFL teams and us here at NFL Network. And this week, we're answering the question, are the Eagles better with Nick Foles than they would be with Michael Vick? Let's take a look at the running game, specifically LaShawn McCoy. What do the numbers say about how the Eagles do with Vick and Foles in terms of LaShawn McCoy, Daniel?
Well, you look at it here, you see the green representing Michael Vick, and the numbers are all better with Michael Vick. You look at here, yards per rush, 5.7, a big advantage there. A lot of people don't know attempts explosive rush means every 9 rushes, LaShawn McCoy has an explosive run with Michael Vick versus 16.5 for Foles. And then yak yards after catch, a big advantage there for McCoy as well.
Okay, so big advantage here, Michael Vick, in terms of the running game for the Eagles, not a big surprise. But when you get to the passing game and you look at some of these numbers here, Daniel, this is probably the most surprising thing we found. Yeah,
you look at the passing here with Michael Vick. He's an explosive runner. Everybody knows that, but he's also an explosive thrower. He can really push the ball vertically down the field. His legs allow him to buy time for some of these longer completions. And you look across the board here, all 3 guys, better numbers, more explosive with Michael Vick. Again, the edge goes to Michael Vick in this category, Dan.
Okay, now we look at another passing number. This is completion percentage on passes that actually travel through the air of 11 yards or more. And this is where you can clearly see, Daniel, the advantage goes to Nick Foles, who has the best numbers in all of the National Football League.
Yeah, we talk about Michael Vick. We use the terms explosive and dynamic. When you look at Nick Foles, accuracy and efficiency here, #1 in the league, 68.8%. You see it slide down. Those are the first 4 guys in order right here. Then there's a drop-off to Michael Vick. He's actually 25th in this category. So Nick Foles not turning the ball over, no turnovers on the year, 4 for Michael Vick, playing an efficient, accurate brand of football. And I think that's what Chip Kelly and the Eagles like to see right now.
Turnovers a big deal. As long as Nick Foles can keep that up, I think the Eagles are going to be in pretty good shape.
All right. Thanks for being here to check out our presentation. I'm Jeremy Troy, and Chris Tank with me, and we thought those 2 guys could do a better job of introducing our presentation than we can. We, as we're introduced, we work for the NFL. Our group is called Analytics and Data Products. And we've developed a platform which powers a lot of that data that you just saw on NFL Network, Mind-Blowing Stats, and we want to give you a kind of inside look at our system today that all the teams are using and kind of how they're using it and the thought process we use to deliver that platform. So we're going to jump right into it here. And if I could get our laptop on the big screen, that would be helpful. We're both IT guys, but kind of out of our hands at this point. Any help from the back, possibly? Is Lance back there to help out? No? We tested this morning, I promise.
We tested it 10 minutes ago.
don't you do that?
I was going to jump in second after the demo, but I'll just speak a little bit about why we built it and that kind of thing. We built the system about 3 years ago, and the reason that we did decide to build something like this was we collect information like salary cap, player contracts, stats, pro stats, NCAA. We're starting to collect Nielsen ratings, box office, ticketing. And as we collect all this information into the kind of league data warehouse, we wanted to make a platform that enabled the business to get direct access to the information without having to rely on different departments or other people to get at their own information. So we developed this NFL Insight platform. Oh, good. So I'll let Jeremy keep going. I'll jump in after.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so here we go. Kind of go through this a little faster than I would have otherwise. So this is a passer rating report. We're looking at regular season 2013, Russell Wilson. We're going to pick on the Seahawks today since they won the Super Bowl. So we have passer rating by quarter, by down, direction, home and away, and this is kind of a dashboard look and feel to a bunch of different statistics within a passer rating. So I'm going to zoom in here. We know who's on the field for every play, so we can look at the top 3 offensive personnel groupings for Seattle and Russell Wilson and see what his passer rating was out of each one. So out of the 12 formation, he had 114 passer rating, which was the best amongst the most common groupings. And the top 3 defense formations that they faced and what his QB rating was in each of those by week and by yards to go. So within that group, you can filter down and say, well, show me those same stats in the red zone. And so those stats just changed probably faster than you could see, and then I can reset that filter and we're back to where we started. Another example, Seattle 2013, we're looking at ball distribution. So these are Seattle's top 7 pass targets in 2013, 372, and the chart below represents the percentage distribution amongst that group of 7. So Golden Tate about a quarter of the time. So from there we can say, well, what about just on third down? And Golden Tate now jumped up to 29%. We could say third down in the second half. And he's at a quarter. So from there we might say, all right, I want to look at those plays that Golden Tate was targeted in the second half on third down. So I jump to the next tab, and we have those same plays sorted here, and those are Golden Tate's 14 plays. We're looking at that same group of third down in the second half, and I expand Golden Tate, and now I can see those 14 plays. And I can highlight and watch those plays. It's all right, we'll skip over that part, but we'll get back to it, I promise. So that was kind of along the player lines. We're going to look at more of a team-based report. So this is Seattle in 2013, and we're looking at offensive personnel groupings again. So by first, second, and third down, we have the top 4 personnel groupings on offense for Seattle. So 38% of the time, they ran an 11 on first down, 43% on second, 63% on third down. And within any of these reports, we can continue filtering by home and away, by quarter, by score differential. We have about 15 different filters you can kind of continuously drill down on. And then the same thing by defense, which defenses were they facing? And we created a definition of success, which is kind of a widely agreed upon definition, which is 40% on first down, 50% on second, a first down on any down, or points scored on any down. And so here's Seattle's success rate, and can be defined however the user would like on each down. And then you can compare that to the league. So on offense, we can drill down and say, let's look a little more closely at Seattle's offensive personnel groupings. So let's say we'll go third down again, and we want to look at, let's say when there were 5 DBs we'll go 5 or more defensive backs on the field. So here are the 5 offensive groupings Seattle lined up in when they were facing a 5 defensive back set. Play success within each one. And like we did before, now we can drill down. We can see those 61 11s that they played against that defense and watch the video. Let's give that a try again. And so this video player is completely integrated with our analytics system, has reverse controls on the keyboard, pretty seamless integration there. So continuing on, we're gonna look at a scorecard report we put together with kind of a key performance indicators, keys to success, if you will. So 2013, let's look at the Philadelphia Eagles. So here's all 17 games. Green means they achieved it, red means they did not, and yellow means it was kind of too close to call. So for example, if we look at wins, we can see that all of Philadelphia's wins in 2013, besides 2 games, they rushed more yards than their opponent. Or in their losses, they never won the time of possession battle. So these are just a few kind of keys to winning that were set up in the system ahead of time. Looking at a rush to pass ratio, pretty basic data. We're looking at Detroit here. So Detroit is represented in this first pie graph. Overall in 2012, they passed the ball 66% of the time. And here's the league average, 58 to 42. So from there, we could say third and short, Detroit passed the ball 92% of the time in 2012. And the teams in red, as I scroll down, are those who made the playoffs in 2012. So you can kind of see the breakdown of that. A player similarity report. So we're looking at LaShawn McCoy, and we created a standardized year in the league. So his year 1 and year 2 in the league, regardless of when he entered, which kind of enables a way to compare apples to other players. So we're looking at rushing stats and receiving stats, and we've defined this range of comparison. So show me players who match his stats in his first 2 years within 90 to 105% of his metrics. So we scroll down, and we're comparing to guys, running backs who entered the league either the same year he did or prior to the year he entered the league. And each highlight represents those that are matching his stats. So Marion Barber's 4.4 is within 90 to 105% of LaShawn McCoy's 4.7 in Marion Barber's first 2 years also. And then we can filter that group down to say, okay, just show me the guys who have the most attributes in common. And probably not surprisingly, we're left with a couple big names, Maurice Jones-Drew and Ray Rice. And you can see they're almost identical in their first 2 years, rushing-wise and even receiving-wise for Ray Rice to LaShawn McCoy in his first 2 years. So the logical next step from there is, okay, show me those 3 guys now and what they did in their out years. So, you know, MJD came into the league before LaShawn McCoy. What did he do in his next 3 years by rushing and receiving? And we have playtime in here as well. So I scroll down and you can see playtime percentages for each player. Kind of a next level that we took with the system was to create a player on field. So pick a player and what happened with either the team or his stats when he was on the field. In this case, we have 5 players on the field. So when these 5, Ed Dixon, Flacco, Smith, Rice, and Leach were on the field in 2013, what happened? Or instead of Leach, if it was Dennis Pitta, what happened? And, you know, look at an offensive line with a switching left tackle, whatever the case may be, and see the kind of difference in production for a team or for a player. Kind of back to the similarity, we're looking at combine data. So we have all the data from the NFL Combine in the system. And in this case, we're looking at 2012 entry year guys, running backs. So we'll use Michael James for this example. Here's what he did at the Combine, his speed, his measurements, et cetera. We jump to the next tab, and now we're comparing again against a comparable group of running backs. So running backs who entered the league, let's say, in the 4 prior years to LaMichael James. And now we're defining a percentage within each category. So 5% plus or minus hand span. Call it 5% arm length. And so all the highlights represent those matches. And we can filter down and see who looks the most like LaMichael James. And one of the guys happens to be Kendall Hunter, who's also a Niners running back, and here are their games played in the NFL. The last 2 are kind of visualizations by creating a field. So in this case, we're looking at Russell Wilson and a passing chart, kind of like a shot chart in basketball, but our version of it. So this is essentially the line of scrimmage, this first horizontal line. And the next range, the next zone is 1 to 5 yards in the air. Air yards are measured from the line of scrimmage. 6 to 19, 20 to 64. And so each is color-coded based on his pass completion percentage. And within each zone, you can see he was 0% deep middle, but he only threw 1 pass in 2013 deep middle, which is kind of interesting in itself. But you can customize, these ranges. So if our teams think that 90% should be green, 1 to 5, then type that in and the color changes. And the kind of last visualization we'll show is the 100-yard field, and we're assuming here that the ball is always going south to north in this example, just so that we can create one field. And we're looking at the Giants in 2012 and 13 combined. So the greener it is, the more often they threw to that zone. So this is where the receiver was standing when he was targeted based on air yards and based on the line of scrimmage. So that in itself doesn't mean a whole lot, but we can drill in and say, let's look at Victor Cruz. So there's his field, and when the line of scrimmage was in the red zone. So now we can see that when the Giants' line of scrimmage was the red zone, he was targeted the most often in the end zone in the middle. A quarter of the time that happened, and he caught 2 out of 7, and obviously those 2 were touchdowns because he was standing in the end zone. So we'll jump back now to Chris and kind of talk more about the system itself and how it came to be here. Cool.
So we're a little short on time, so I'm going to just skip through these slides real quick. But as I mentioned before, the whole point of the system was to allow the business to get direct access to all this information. Business being the teams and league office and digital media and the NFL network out in LA. So I'm going to jump through this, but a quick summary of how the NFL takes data on a typical Sunday. Entered in at the stadium during the play-by-play. It's captured real time. That's replicated back, this data that you see is replicated back to the league office. From there, it kind of goes into our data warehouse. It's restructured, put in our data warehouse to make it easier to work with internally and for our business partners. Here's a quick picture of our data warehouse, quick slice of it. We have a lot more than this, but just as an example. Again, our business partners and our analytics platform that you just saw is connecting to this data warehouse, so this is kind of how the flow. The reason that the system is so fast, as fast as Jeremy was showing, is we can ask questions like this, which may be a lot of variables in here, so maybe this is not the type of question we would ask, but it can answer this question in about a second, and that's the answer to the question, but it really only takes 1 second if we were to pull it up in the Insight platform. And the one thing we wanted to, we took away from this whole system, the most important thing we found was making, how do we make all this information easy for people to access and to use? There's lots of information in here, and if it's not easy to manipulate, then it becomes just a complicated mess of data. So we spend a lot of time and still do trying to make that a good user experience. And I think we have 5 minutes for questions, if anyone does.
To your knowledge, how are teams using this to their advantage?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, it is a competitive league, and we're at the league office, so we really don't know everything teams do with the system. But you know, as you saw, it's great for player evaluations. We didn't show any of the salary cap numbers in here, but we have all the salary cap numbers and contracts. So you know, performance versus pay, that type of thing can be done, kind of that Moneyball type analysis.
A question over here, right in front. I'm sorry. You know, you on the screen there was quite a bit of partners that you said you spoke to.
Yeah.
Business partners that you share this information with.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Business partners that you share this with. I'm just wondering, when are you guys going to open this up, I guess, to APIs and sort of so other people can take a look at this?
Yeah,
Publicly.
we've been talking about that. We haven't really exposed the information, you know, publicly through like, you know, APIs or web services or anything like that. But that's something we're looking into. But right now, it's just the kind of the sponsors and partners that we have. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a question about, in your presentation, it appeared that the presentation layer of NFL Insight was Excel. Was that for the benefit of this presentation, or is that the presentation layer that the actual teams use as well?
It is the presentation layer that the teams use, but we do have a web-based version or browser-based version coming out next month, and so there's just two different types of users. The Excel version, I think, is more for the hardcore, you know, really want to get down to the detail level of things, but we'll support both.
You said you have a web-based version. Does that mean you have intention in the future to open it up like the NBA has for fans to use on
I
the
think
NFL website?
that's a long-term goal. I mean, right now, we just plan on making it, at least trying it out initially internally, which means the league office, the NFL Network, and NFL Films, and kind of roll it out maybe to them first, see how it goes, and then go from there.
Can you guys talk a little bit about how this got started, whether you went to the NFL, whether they determined they had a need, and also how the specific stats that are collected, how that was determined?
Sure, so it has every NFL stat. So we collect, every NFL stat is in the system. So we didn't pick and choose, we just took them all. And I've been at the NFL about 15 years, and kind of after my first 5-6 years there, we started collecting all this information. And I always found people coming to my group to write reports or to, you know, can you get me this information? And I kind of said, you know, proposed to the business, why don't we develop a platform that would allow everyone to get access themselves to the information? And so that's where this kind of came from.
Some teams have been investing in this for a number of years. How did they react when you came along and gave it to the other guys for free?
No, I think it's, I mean, some teams use this, some teams, I mean, still use their other systems, so I think it can coexist. I think there's, you know, advantages to this system and advantages to the systems that they use currently, so I think there's a place for it everywhere. It's just a matter of where and how you make that happen.
I think we have time for one more.
And just to explain what's up on the screen instead of our questions slide is, so we mapped where every current NFL player is from based on high school city. So in the graph there, you can see Miami and Houston are the top two. Just kind of an example of how this whole system can go beyond just stats and you know, basic player stats. So
there's one more question?
Yep. Do you have any intention of adding any new stats as, you know, the years go along, like, you know, where players are positioned on the field, or, you know, who's blitzing at what time, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, our LA group is working kind of with the next generation stats, and it's kind of a whole separate project related to that. And so I think when that, you know, comes fully into production, we'll try to leverage some of that information in here.
And with that, I think we're all out of time for questions.